Hey, Blue Rockers, welcome to Blue Rock Talk with Connie Willis. This is Connie Willis. Tonight I'm Crypto Connie, and you just saw a little flash of Stan's face there. And he is our guest tonight, of course, on Crypto Connie Tuesday. Sometimes we sneak in other people. He doesn't know about it. We don't tell him. Okay, sound is good. All right, so a lot of crazy stuff has just happened. So I want to talk about that, but I want to welcome you that are new here to Blue Rock Talk with Connie Willis. This is Earth's most interesting conversations. That includes people, places, and things. Tuesday night is Crypto Connie night. Coming soon, Wasted Wednesdays. That is that's a serious look at the cannabis industry. Some really neat guests already lined up for that. Recreational, medicinal, all that kind of stuff. The business, blah, 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 and maybe even crypto. That's all I'm going to say. Thursday night's Far Out Thursday or Signature Thursday, where we can talk about all sorts of crazy, cool things. Aliens, NASA, this, that. It goes on and on and on. What's on the other side of the moon? What's down at, is there really a Loch Ness? That kind of fun stuff. And then on Friday, it's Bigfoot Friday. And then that's it for the shows. Just kidding. There's Stan's Bible class as well. On Sundays, that's a new time at 2 p.m. Eastern. Otherwise, the other times are 10 p.m. Eastern. However, that could change along the way. And if you're hearing things, I think there's a cat somewhere. It's like an ALF show or something, and I'm hearing cats. So besides all that, I hope you subscribe if you haven't already. I hope you hit that like button too. And I hope you make some comments and chat in the live room. We will take Q&A with Stan. And he's got some really interesting stuff to talk about. Before we do that, though, thanks to those of you that do give in crypto as funding. Here, let me get some stuff up here, make it prettier here. Let's see how we do that. Let's see, show overlays. Ready? Here we go. Let's bring some action in. Boom! There you go. All right, there we go. So, those of you that want to give and support Blue Rock Talk, thank you for doing it in crypto. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All the other ways, they take a little bit. So look in the description down below. You'll see my favorites, and I thank you for that. It's so fun when I see that. Even if it's one BitShare, I'm like, oh, that's so cool. So I just want to say thank you for that. What else? Okay. I'll be on Coast to Coast August 11th. I believe that will be happening, and I will have William Gazetke on with me, filmmaker and documentarian. And I gotta tell you about, I gotta show you something. Take a look at this video. This just happened. If you're already a subscriber to Blue Rock Talk, that means you're a Blue Rocker. That is someone in the know. So that means you already saw what happened earlier, but you didn't get to see the actual action. So let me show you. As I was getting ready for the show, I had looked out the window. Well, I wasn't even looking out the window. I just heard this crazy howling sound. I looked outside the window, and there's stuff flying all over the skies. And so right next to the building that I am in here, and I've been all over the place transitioning, trying to figure out where to land. Right now, Denver, Colorado, there's a building being built right next door, and there's a crane. And I'm going to show you the video here of what was going on at the time. Let's see here. I'd like to pull in Stan, but he just can't see this, so I'm going to show it without you all, and he can see it later. Let's see here. Where to go? Here it is. Okay. The winds. Okay, there you go. I'm going to be down here. Okay, you take a look at that. Okay, right now it stopped, but you probably saw it swing a little bit there. Okay, I'd run out after I saw what was going on, and it spun a couple times before I got to it. So it's not locked in. It's swinging around, and as you can see, 3 tall buildings are right on the outer circumference of this crane. Now it stopped, but you're going to see it start swinging around again. So I don't know how many times it swung around before I saw it, but you'll see it pick up some speed here. See how the trees down there are blowing, and you can see also the screen of like the floors that they are building in that building. But you'll see it start swinging around. Could you imagine being right in the windows of any of those other buildings around it? I don't know if there's a fourth building over there, but there you go. It's starting to pick up speed again. So nobody's up there. I know there's some sort of locking mechanism, but it was not. It either broke or it wasn't locked. But it's swinging around. It's going to pick up a little bit more speed. You'll notice. And it's quite a sight when you see that happening right in front of you. My perception is kind of high up, but I think there you go. See that swing around? Did you see how close it got to that building right there? That might have been maybe the 14th, 20th, 21st, 23rd floor.
That's scary.
And look at that swinging around. I know it looks kind of stable, but when you're seeing that live and looking down and seeing people in the street looking up and other people looking up, it's kind of a scary thing. And some people were running. I don't blame them. But when you see that just from the winds, that's pretty crazy and pretty creepy. So anyway, that's what I saw today. And that video will go on sale for $10,000. Anybody wants to have that? That's the going rate, I think. So anyway, interesting, isn't it? I will send that to Stan at one point so he can see it. I know he knows this city. Look at that swinging around like that. If you were in that window, that would freak you out. That is unmanned, and just that's the winds here that I saw about an hour ago. All right, so interesting. Always something interesting here. Earth's most interesting conversations, people, places, and things, even cranes. So let's go ahead and let's talk about what we're going to talk about tonight. This is kind of interesting because Stan's got a couple really cool things. So let's go ahead and bring on Stan, the man, Larimer, the godfather of BitShares. Stan, I'm sorry you couldn't see that.
Well, you gave a good play-by-play of it, so I could picture it.
Okay, cool.
And I've spent my life working with unmanned systems, air, ground, sea, and space, and blockchains, and now unmanned cranes.
That's right. That's right. I love when you always think of something else unmanned. Okay. Well, right now it's going to be manned. I say we toast to all the really cool things that you've got going on. You can update us. We'll talk about what we want to talk about tonight, take questions as well, live questions. But beforehand, the business that we do first is it's Tequila Day.
Oh.
So I got like my favorite, which is Silver Patron, and there's actually,
Wow.
I'm going to have to show you another bottle I got. It's kind of special. It's Silver Porfidio Silver 3, which at one point I think was really good and awesome, and then I think somebody bought it out and did something bad to it or something like that. It became cheap and nasty, but it used to be like $121 a bottle, $121 a bottle, and it had like cactus in it, and it was blown glass, and it was delicious. It was like water, but it's a sipping wine just like the Silver Patron. So anyway, I'm sorry. Tell me what you've got over there.
Well, I got my Diet Coke. I also have some really nice Irish whiskey given to me by a friend in Ireland that's got a big dish project over there. And we talked a little bit about some of his plans. So I could get that out. Or I've got some moonshine that my neighbor gave me.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so you don't.
That's pure stuff there.
So you don't have tequila.
I don't light a match anywhere near that. But no, I would have gone out and got some tequila if I'd have known it was Tequila Day. But
Darn.
Well, some of us are just totally not connected.
I know. What's wrong with you? Well, do you have? Can you open up the moonshine? You got to do a sip.
Oh,
you got to toast.
I've taken a sip of it before. That is high potency stuff.
Yeah. So let's toast.
Besides, if I do that, then we're going to wind up. I might spill the beans on something tonight. But I'll tell you what I'll do.
Take a big gulp. Okay, wait a minute. But let's toast. We got to toast. So say a toast, and then we'll do it. Say, you're the
Well,
man.
to Crypto Connie night. How about that?
Okay, and to the BitShares dynasty.
There you go. That sounds good. That's enough of that stuff. Whew. Ooh. Oh, we finally silenced Connie. All right.
Gene Simmons of Kiss. All right. I mean, did I get it right? All right. Hey, that tastes pretty good. I like tequila night.
Mm.
All right. All right. So you're done with your moonshine. No more, huh?
Not when I'm on the air.
Don't mix it with all the actual bottle of tequila you had earlier that you showed us that is empty
This
now.
is my emergency supply of rocket fuel. So.
It's so southern with the ball. I love it. Now that's real moonshine somebody gave to you?
Oh yeah,
Corn?
yeah. They made it locally.
Is it out of corn?
Yeah, Granny Clampett would call it corn squeezins.
Now, moonshine, is it always corn? Because I know other people that they said it was moonshine, it was made out of other stuff, but I thought moonshine was always corn.
Well, I don't think there's any hard, fast rules about it. You make moonshine out of whatever you
As
got.
long as you can swallow it, yeah, and not get caught, right? That's interesting. So Patrick, Pat, Connie Electric, I always say Patrick because it says it, but it's Pat, so don't, he likes Pat. He says it's International Margarita Day. I heard it was Tequila Day, not International Margarita Day. I just heard it was Tequila Day.
Huh. Well, I got a 1-gallon automated still that was provided to me by a prepper. I haven't had a chance to use it yet, but you're allowed to make so many gallons for your own personal use with the thing here in the state of Virginia. So I might try that someday. But it's there so you can augment your gasoline supply if we ever have another Arab oil embargo or something. Although that's not likely to happen since we've got the new drilling capabilities that in fracking and stuff. There's so much oil here in North America that we probably are not going to see another Arab oil embargo for the rest of my life anyway.
Good to know. Yeah, I know people in the oil business, and they usually, it's not a millionaire that they are. They usually got a big old capital B in front of it. So that's some good money in the oil business for sure. All right. So, but you and I agree that the first trillionaire ever will be in crypto.
Yeah, I think we got an excellent shot at it. It's like I said, the Billion Hero campaign is all about growing by a factor of 1,000 from 1,000,000 to 1,000,000,000. But there's some guys out there that got 1,000,000,000, so their next factor of 1,000 gets them to 1,000,000,000,000.
Made that happen in my lifetime, and I get to see whoever it happens to. That'll be fun. It'd be cool if it was one of us. Let's make it happen with the dynasty.
Well, yeah, I'm saying, and this is just me saying, but BitShares and Ethereum, or Bitcoin and Ethereum, are pretty much saturated. So I don't know where they're going to get their next factor of 1,000. But EOS has just got on the scene, and it's already at 5% of the total market cap of the industry, and it hasn't even begun to. Well, it's also already at fourth place behind BitShares and Steemit, and Ethereum in terms of total usage. So there is the one thing that's already registering decently on both activity and market cap. And I think it's just getting started. So both of those are likely to go there. So you want my bet, it's EOS.
EOS. What did you say you think it is? You think it's Ethereum on steroids? Is that what you think?
That's what I'm saying. They won't admit that. It could be Earth's operating system too. Who knows?
I love that one. Okay, so is there anything that you want to update anybody on before we go to what you had said you would like to talk about? Because I thought that was kind of cool what you want to talk about. But is there any updates, anything going on that you want to talk about?
Well,
don't jinx anything.
Not in the way of any kind of announcements that we're set to do now.
Okay.
But we've started prepping the battlefield, so to speak, for some things that will be announced, and having a lot of fun with that right now, in terms of dropping hints for people. somebody made me my own channel where I'm allowed to talk about anything I want. Whereas, of course, you know me, I'm a BitShares evangelist and a Christian evangelist, and I mix those two together a lot. And there's certain channels that are full of people that want to object. So we got like 3 different channels in the BitShares community now. Okay.
On Telegram, right?
On Telegram,
on Telegram, yeah. Okay.
Right. And there's other ones too. BitSharesTalk.org goes clear back to the very beginning, and so it's a place where people publish things in a more deliberative way. Whereas there's this Telegram is continuous streaming stuff that scrolls away and is never heard from again. But we've got one group of the largest group, but it's also full of the of a lot of the typical kind of things that I would hope only would occur over on Bitcoin Talk. Full of trolls and nasty things. We created a new one back in January or something that tried to get away from the nastiness and just have a nice, sophisticated group, and that turned out pretty well. But now there's people in there that don't want to hear the word Jesus or Bible, and so anytime that anything like that comes up, then we get howling and wailing on there. So now I've got a channel where I can go ahead and talk about that, and people that don't want to hear the name of Jesus can go somewhere else. But I will tell you right now, I'm not releasing any news anywhere but where I can freely talk about my faith. And so that's where anything that might be happening this summer is going to happen. And the thing I was sort of going to talk about tonight was foreshadowing some of that. And the people who are in my new channel will have a better chance of understanding what I'm saying than the people who want to limit my free speech. So I'm sure there's some of them listening tonight too. Maybe they'll have to make a decision as to what they want to hear and what they don't want to hear. But they're not going to hear about really inside BitShares news if they're not willing to hear about what I think on my faith. So
fair enough.
That is what has happened, but I've been having a lot of fun because on this new channel I've been embedding my hints inside pseudo scripture verses. Now I don't know whether this is actually something that purists are going to like, me taking scriptural text and editing it to embed into it hints about cryptocurrency. That sounds maybe like not, but I think that the only exposure some people will get to those verses is if I do that. So this is a little bit of my experimental. When I want to give my dog a pill, I wrap it in cheese. And so I'll do the same thing here and see if anybody cares.
I love it. So, it's terrible. I mean, here everybody wants to have everything decentralized so that anybody can talk about anything and there's full transparency. But, people do this. How can we stop the bullying? And first of all, okay, what is the Telegram so people will know what's the good one, what's the bad one? Do you want to tell me which ones they are so people can?
I don't want to label anything bad. It's there's 3 different.
I think it's disrespectful styles. For sure.
Well, there's 3 different styles. Okay, there's places where people want to be really mean to each other, and that's perfectly acceptable. That's the BitShares channel that ends in Dex. It's got the largest audience. People like to go there.
They cut me off. Is that the one they cut me off?
Yeah. I got banned from there too for doxing somebody. He was smearing other people from behind a faked identity. And I said, hey, look, if you're going to do that to people's real identity, I'm going to tell people who's doing it. And of course, he runs the channel. So he basically banned me from there. That simply means that no announcements will occur to that particular group.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We had another group that is full of people who moved there for the specific purpose of getting away from that meanness. Okay. And for the most part, that's pretty good. It's a higher class channel, not as big in terms of number of people participating in it. I'm not sure what that says about our society, but the ones who are there generally are willing to be well behaved and respectful to each other. But there's quite a few people in there objecting to the discussion of religion, as if their religion that says you can't talk about religion should take precedence over mine that says you must. So, at any rate, we'll leave them to their own devices as well, and I will simply go and communicate with anybody that wants to talk to me in the new one, which is named cleverly BitShares for Nice People.
That's perfect. I mean, that's perfect. BitShares for nice people.
Yeah. So there's the one that ends in Dex, and then one that's called BitShares Community,
Okay.
and then BitShares for Nice People. And, we'll let people pick what they want to hear.
I mean, you can't win when you talk about these things, because if you say, look, that is totally disrespectful, that is unwarranted, blah, 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 then they're going to say something about that and then start, doing something to you, whoever it is, like me right now saying that. And, well, if you agree, I mean, why are you even on there if you agree? If you think that way, don't even be there.
On the first channel, it's perfectly acceptable to make up stuff about people and to generate graphics. Picture of Michael dressed as a terrorist with, other decorations, associated stuff stuck in his beard, and just and we've had people there literally sitting there in so-called private forums, which are not as private as they think, and basically conspiring to make up stories that they can spread about people. And that's how they got Jared Rice in the Arise case raided by the FBI. And they were cheering after they did that. Ha 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 ha, we took him out.
That's terrible.
I don't think that the government is all that amused about having people manipulating them. So we'll see who gets the last laugh. But anyhow, let's lighten up.
Terrible.
That's just the thing. I meant to bring this up because I'm excited about this new channel where I'm having the fun. I've so far dropped 13 different clues for people who are willing to dig them out of Bible verses.
Well, give us one. Give us one. And it's clues to what's coming in the future, right?
Huh?
It's clues about what is going to happen in the future with the BitShares dynasty, correct?
Yes, right.
Okay, so can you give us one? Just because you know what, good people are here, and if they're not, I just delete them because I can. It's my channel. I love it.
Someone was asking. This is down in the clues somewhere,
okay.
And they were asking, did I miss it? Is it too late? And I said, don't worry about it. You'll know. As lightning flashes in the east is seen in the west, so shall it be in the future of BitShares. So
that's a verse.
That's a verse from Matthew 24.
Oh, it sounds kind of like coast to coast, east of the Rockies, or I'm sorry.
But embedded in there are lots of hints. But
say it again. Say it again. Let me think. As you say it, say it again.
As lightning flashes in the east is seen in the west, so shall it be at the coming of the future of BitShares. Somebody says, you're talking about the third coming, aren't you?
Oh, no. Yeah, some people think, that this is similar to that kind of stuff. Just a guess, just from stuff you've said before, is it the Silk Way? What is Silk Road?
Couldn't possibly violate my promise to embed everything into these verses so that only people who are tolerant enough to read a Bible verse can extract the information.
Okay, cool. And if they...
That's my response. Other people, and it's really shameful, but other people of faith, cower in the corner whenever people call them out and bully them. You're not going to bully me, so you'll get more of it if you continue that kind of stuff. But let's set that aside for now. It's
well, I got to say something. I got to say something about it though, and what I want to say about it is, I've been trying to get you to watch Silicon Valley on HBO, and one of their last shows. It's great. It's all about you people that I've met in crypto, and that's they're. Well, anyway, those of you watching, know what I'm talking about. But just recently, the last season, they had a guy. They built a decentralized internet, and he's bringing on about 8 people in the beta of, putting their sites on there and, whatever they're doing. And this one guy has a site that's gay, but it's not just gay, it's gay Christian. And it's just, it was cool that it was gay. It didn't matter, whatever, everything was okay and all was good. It's decentralized, you can, whatever you want. Nobody can stop you kind of thing. And, but nobody liked that Christian part. And the whole, one of the themes of it was getting upset with him about saying the Christian thing. When the guy got outed for his gay Christian site, it wasn't that he was outed because he was gay. He was outed because he was Christian. And they say, no Christians in Silicon Valley. It was just hilarious show. So, what you're saying is just like it.
Well, that I always say, how people say, well, there's hundreds of religions, maybe thousands. How do you know yours is right? And my answer is easy. It's the one that gets picked on.
You're right.
So, Satan does not care if you pick one of the other thousand that are wrong.
It doesn't matter.
He only cares if you pick this one. Yeah. So, okay.
That's interesting. And those of you new here that want to learn more about that, well, you got Stan's Bible lecture here on Sunday afternoons at 2 p.m. Eastern. And he does a lecture. It's a college level course kind of lecture. I like to say it ain't your daddy's Bible study. But he also will let you challenge him with questions. So it's live and you can do that. So that's where you want to do all that stuff. And we appreciate those of you that are there. We call you now Bible Blue Rockers. I like that name. I think it's cool.
Yeah, that rocks.
It does rock. Rock on, baby. Okay, so.
But, that kind of is a nice transition point because, what I had prepared to talk about tonight is a different kind of thing. I mean, right now we've just sort of used up a lot of time on, talking about not being willing to back down from a forum full of naysayers, okay? And that happened to be associated with discussing your faith. But that we're no stranger to that. For 5 years, the projects of Dan Larimer have bucked the trends.
Oh,
I mean,
happy birthday, Dan! Happy birthday, Dan!
Good point. Yeah,
happy birthday, Dan.
Dan's birthday.
Yeah, happy
He's
birthday.
36.
Happy birthday. And what's he worth? What was that article? I need to put the article link down below. What $4 billion are putting into him or whatever?
I think they raised $4 billion, and EOS last time I looked was $6 or $7 billion. So a lot of capability to make stuff happen. That's for sure.
See the things you produced, Stan. That's pretty awesome.
Well, I can't take credit.
No,
for
you
any
produced him. You helped produce him.
So my wife tells me.
You and Pam, yeah, that's right, yeah. That mailman hanging around a lot at one point. What's going on?
So anyhow, what I'm trying to say is that for the past 5 years, breaking the rules of the industry for people that the number of heresies we've been guilty of in the industry in terms of, going back to the very first few months back in 2013, we launched the very first proto blockchain, which was just a Bitcoin clone, used mining, and the very first entries into our world were done with mining. But we quickly learned that mining, as Dan said, is dead. He was pretty outraged at the fact that he had tried to create a mining version that would allow people to have fair access to the tokens from his new project. And within 3 weeks, they figured out how to work around his attempt to block the large miners. And then they came in and scooped up all of the shares and were selling them to people like they do for Bitcoin and most of the other chains out there. And, one of the iconoclast things we did was say why is it legitimate for miners to scoop up all the coins, burn 95% of the values in the cracks of doom, the coal-powered power plants of China, and then make a profit over the last 5% or less by selling it to the general public. Wouldn't it be better if you could sell your tokens directly to the public, and instead of burning it on electricity, you get the money from those tokens and you can spend it on developing your project? And so we were arguing that case and looking for ways to do that, and working with legal firms who, were apoplectic about that concept, because of course it strays into the securities domains. But it was from those early arguments that the ICO craze was born, because the industry switched to believing, you're right. Why in the heck are we distributing tokens with mining when we could just be doing an ICO and putting them up for sale? And the industry adopted that and went crazy on it. And of course, that brings us to where we are this year, with the governments of the world cracking down on that, because they consider that to be a security. And by the pure definition of long settled law, that's true, but that long settled law is wrong. That Howie case, which was decided in a 7-8 decision of the Supreme Court, that you could not sell rows of orange trees and offer to take care of them for people, because that made the row of orange trees into a security. And, while technically that is true, the ridiculous nature of thing is that they would rather stretch the definition to be as broad as possible, rather than asking the question, what's wrong with a company selling people rows of orange trees and offering to take care of them for people? Yes, you could stretch the definition as broad as possible and make it into a security, and technically and legally the Supreme Court was correct, but the fact of the matter is it's a ridiculous result of those laws, and instead the laws should have been rolled back to something saner. But we have that same kind of thing going on today. Very reasonable things of saying, why, if it's okay to mine Bitcoin and to have the people running the mining equipment waste most of the money, why is that good and acceptable? But somebody who does the same thing, except they keep the money they would waste on electricity and use it to advance their business. No. Suddenly you go to jail for that for a long time, and we'll torment you and seize all your assets and do all kinds of things that are outrageous extensions of government power. So there's the typical Stan Larimer rant for the night. But what I really wanted to talk about was that is an example of the kind of things that we get involved in terms of challenging conventional wisdom in this industry. And, so that was sort of the first example of doing it. I guess we fast forward a couple years to when Dan went off and did Steemit. And, with Steemit, he came up with the concept of, well, wait a minute, proof of work does not have to be burning electricity. Why can't proof of work be, hey, I posted a good post and people voted and liked what I wrote?
And I love that. I love it. Love it.
And, it showed people an example of what it can do, and it worked very well. And so Steemit is right behind BitShares, the second most active blockchain out there. And, both of them are sitting there in position 1 and 2 on the activity chain.
Wow.
Then you got Ethereum, and then you get down to EOS trying to catch up. And it may pass us one day, but not if I can help it.
That's right.
And
I love it.
So, that was going on, which brings us, to, other questions that came up in that same time, and the concept of optimum decentralization. Okay, a whole new set of things that we basically challenged the status quo. And we still see that today. People just don't get it. Although I can defeat anybody in a debate if they ever dare come at me.
And bring it on. We'll do it here on Blue Rock Talk. So bring it on.
Yeah.
He'll do it.
The idea of pie charts showing, if you look at a Bitcoin pie chart, in a pie chart, if it's done right, it sorts things by the biggest slice of pie and then the next biggest slice of pie. And as you work your way around the clock, they get tinier and tinier slivers until they're so tiny as they come up around, they you can't even tell the slivers apart. And Bitcoin looks at that and says, wow, look at all those little slivers up there. We're super decentralized. While at the same time, everybody knows that it only counts as to who owns the first 51% of that pie chart. They control it, and nothing after that matters. However many slivers you put on the back half of the pie, it doesn't add to the security of the system. And so if you go and look at Bitcoin, you find it's only got 4 pieces of pie before you get to 51%. That's the 4 big mining companies. 4 CEOs control Bitcoin. And it would only take 4 government agents raiding for those 4 CEOs and telling them to put a backdoor into Bitcoin to take it over. So, and there's nothing anybody can do about it because those big mining pools or mining companies own the hardware, and there's no way to get rid of them because they can wade into any mining task and win. And so the whole idea of proof of work mining is ridiculous. If you look at Ethereum, it only takes 2. The first 2 slices of pie get you to 51%. So then you got a lot of other ones, but so what? It's not decentralized. With the graphene family, Dan put some rules in that said, every piece of pie has to be the same size, and we want to have 101 different slices of pie. But what we learned with that is electing 101 people don't know that many people. They don't study enough to pick who's the best 101. So since then, the strategy has moved down into the neighborhood of 21 or maybe 19 slices of pie is about all people can know to vote for. And so that gets you into what we call optimum decentralization. And that's another thing that if we go to any forum out there, you'll see people who don't really understand real reason behind why the rules are what they are, why there's taboos or so on. Just because Satoshi defined a few principles, every one of those principles can be challenged, and that's what Dan has been doing, and that's what led to the systems we have today, that instead of taking 30 minutes to do a block, they take 3 seconds or a half second to do a block, because we've eliminated a lot of that kind of stuff. Brings us into another whole category of what I'll call provably fair mining. And people say, well, mining has to be decentralized so anybody can do it, and people can go get their own equipment and compete and mine and everything. What that turns into is an arms race where the geeks and the people with a lot of money.
Yeah, it excludes us. It excludes me.
Yeah. So what is fair about distributing coins to the geek overlords who know how to run a mining rig? Why can't we have a situation where somebody says, look, all the minings for my coin is going to be done on a standard set of hardware that I'll provide. You can rent time on it. It'll run the exact same software. You'll get your set of coins on my standard mining rig, and everybody has the same chance because you rent however much you want to rent, but you don't have to know anything about it. You can just participate.
Right.
And, that to me is a real good solution. But of course, you get the regulators in there asking the question, well, if they're not mining on their own equipment, and if they're mining on your equipment, maybe that's a security. What? That kind of ridiculous over-regulation. They don't understand the industry they're trying to regulate, and making arbitrary rules about what you can or can't do. So at any rate, we still hope to explain things to them and get some sanity over time. But that is another place where we have an example of challenging status quo, the conventional wisdom. And that makes us heretics every time we introduce a new system, a new products. But guess what? We don't care. And so bring it on in any of these areas where you want to shout down innovation or religion or whatever. It's not going to stop us from doing what we set out to do. So there, Connie, I get a long time. I'll let you get a word in edgewise, because I just had to get that off my chest.
Oh, that was great. That was awesome. Bravo, bravo, bravo. Standing ovation. Yay. I'm enjoying my sipping tequila on International Tequila Day, and actually enjoying some pepperoni and cheese too. I can't handle drinking. I'm not very good at it, so, but I want to celebrate it. So, no, that was incredible, Stan. It's so nice to hear and see the passion that you have for this, and that's why, to me, it's important to be a part of that dynasty. I'm excited because I see that you're excited, and I don't want to ever do anything with people, whether it's just buy their coin or hang out and have lunch with them or something. If they have no passion whatsoever, yuck, right? Who cares about that? You want people that are passionate around you and excited, and you are.
Now, I do think we have people that are passionate throughout the industry. That's a characteristic of our industry.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
I'm very proud of that. We just need to have passion tempered with some form of responsibility. And if we can get to that, then that'd be very good.
Do you think there is a way to get rid of bullies anywhere across the board? Will the blockchain world or the crypto world be able to do something about that? Because there's so much heart behind it all, and about freedom, but that's just hate is just awful. Is there a way to get rid of that?
Well, people try. You can set up a discussion forum where you'll be accused of censorship by evicting people who behave that way, but certainly you can decide where you want to engage. If you go to a wide open forum where the rules are, there are no rules, then you're going to get people showing up there who, having gotten used to hiding it behind their anonymity and their fake names behind a keyboard, have learned that all kinds of antisocial behavior that would normally be stomped out in the real world interactions of the past by people shunning you, and you just have to learn to get along, or you're going to be an outcast. But on the web, no one knows you're a dog, right? And no one knows you're a troll either until you act out, but no one can do anything about it. And so if you want to throw open a forum to allow anybody to come in, you'll get your number of trolls. On the other hand, if you want to engage in a discussion where it's monitored and refereed, then you can do that. Although we have plenty of forums where the referees are out of control and banning people they simply don't like. But I still think that's acceptable to me. Let people go where they want. If you want to have an erudite discussion, there are forums where that can happen. And if you want to have other types of interactions, well, seek out the one that suits you, and everybody should have a right to do that. But a lot of times, people who are outspoken, innovative, or unwilling to back off their own free speech can get shouted down in the wrong kind of forum and wind up having to create their own. And that's okay too.
Well, you said some wonderful stuff there, and I hope it went through. As I saw some buffering over here on the side, I'm like, no, somebody's like aiming some magnetic thing and zapping us here, because there shouldn't be. I know I'm all good over here. Man, I was talking to different people today about, your, I'm sorry, I'm always going to call it dynasty, so you're cool with that, right? Okay.
Yeah, I might use it myself.
Okay, well, you said it first, so I just copied you. And it's amazing that, because I'm talking to you all the time on here, and you do give little hints, and without even being verses now, but you gave hints in the past. And at one point you stopped. You didn't want to jinx it. You didn't want things thrown out. So I remember some of these things. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know where you're at with them. I don't know if you've moved on to something else, but I know they're all freaking awesome. And it's so hard to not say anything along the way when you're talking about things to people, because they ask you in the present form of the way everything is. But I know it's going to be very different in the future. Am I wrong? I mean, even with CloudCoin and Rada, right? I mean,
yeah. We can talk about that because we're not done breaking the mold. Being iconoclast, go look up that word. People who break up the accepted wisdom and shatter it and start something new. Love doing that. But I just published an example of that would be, and by the way, if you want to read behind the lines, then read my posts, because most of the posts I put out there show the kind of thinking we're doing. That there must be something coming if it bubbles up to the point where I write about it. So you can get some insights there. I just published one of my latest blog posts at steemit/@stan, which was talking about intra-jurisdictional blockchains. The idea there is that in the past, people have tried to create blockchains that were everywhere in every jurisdiction, under the theory that if one node got shut down in that jurisdiction, people would route around it. And so eventually the blockchain would settle down to places where it hasn't been interfered with, and then it would be stable and safe from interference. But that doesn't necessarily suit industrial users, institutional users, people who don't want that. They want to know that they are operating something that is in a jurisdiction that has rules they can live with and that they can comply with, so that they won't get in trouble, because they have a fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders or to their investors or whatever. And so they would like to see some guarantees that the blockchains they're operating on are in a jurisdiction, and they would like to simplify their life, but not having to comply with 50 different states' set of rules, and perhaps 200 different countries and a bunch of other things. That is a real nightmare, the regulatory patchwork that people have to deal with. And so wouldn't it be great if you could have your business operating on a blockchain that could guarantee you it's only governed by the laws of the state of Utah or Wyoming or the Middle Kingdom of Ireland, or you pick whatever combination you want, but focus in even space.
Hint, 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 hint.
Or in international waters, like
I love it.
why not on a
On a cruise ship? I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
We've got examples, right? A cruise ship, as soon as it gets outside the whatever mile limit it is, they suddenly open up their casinos, and there's gambling happening everywhere.
Ding, 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 ding.
And it goes silent again, and they're back into port with the casinos mute. Ridiculous.
Cha-ching.
Compliance. Why is it moral to gamble while you're at sea, but it's immoral to do it while you're in port, unless it's a state-run lottery or a casino, in which suddenly it's moral again. So whatever. The idea is that why couldn't you have aboard all the ships on a cruise line the nodes that run your network, and connectivity outside the internet between the cruise ships, so that 100% of all the transactions that happen on that blockchain happen inside the jurisdiction you've chosen, international waters, international space, or a specific state that has favorable laws for you. But to do that, most of the time you have to take a little bit of centralization into the hardware, not necessarily the software, but if I was going to do a deal with one of the major cruise lines, they own all the ships, and I would have to work in a centralized way to put hardware on their ships to do that. And that would mean the hardware would be centralized, right? But if that hardware is offered to people who are elected to run nodes, then you can have it decentralized in terms of who's controlling the software, even if the hardware behind it is owned by some central company that's making it available. And the fact of the matter is, a lot of the nodes out there are running on DigitalOcean or Amazon or different server farms anyway. For all you know, any given blockchain may be centralized in the same building at Amazon. but they make those different nodes available to different people. So why can't we do that? And certainly when you get something like a space-based system, that satellite constellation is going to have to be managed very carefully for power consumption and a whole bunch of other factors. Putting those kind of nodes in that jurisdiction would solve a lot of problems, but would require centralization of the hardware under one control, but not necessarily centralization of the software, which could still, just like when you get elected to Congress, you go in and there's a state-owned office that's assigned to you as long as you are in office. Well, why can't you have a centrally owned office for your nodes to operate on? So that is another example of challenging why do blockchains always have to have decentralized nodes run by individuals. There's good reasons for it, but it's not the only thing you could do. We can go on into other things that are topics for a whole other night, but we've talked about CloudCoin that doesn't even use blockchains. We've talked about Jared Rice's DWeb, which is a completely different concept for how things can be done, also doesn't use blockchains. There's a company out there called StealthGrid that has a very interesting network that runs on a cell phone, but has lots of encryption and other interesting things and doesn't use the internet. That could be viewed as sovereign territory in some sense, since it's really outside the jurisdiction and control of any country, at least according to one legal theory. The point is, there's a lot of different things out there that are going to challenge the conventional wisdom for the industry. And we're involved in a lot of them and doing different teaming and deals with these different people, supporting each other, looking to co-locate certain parts of what we're doing. And all of that stuff is what's going on and may show up in some future announcement.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. I can't wait. I can't wait. And by then, there's going to be other things out there that will be kept hidden, when you're allowed to tell those things, because you'll be that much more advanced in your other ideas. And speaking of that, okay, when the technology comes out, we've always been told, well, okay, the technology that you see right now that you're buying today, or next week, it's going to go on sale. Well, and that's the top technology that you're going to get. Well, behind the scenes, it's actually, they're 20 years beyond, right? Always told that. So, before you answer that, I mean, that's kind of what most people think. Okay, just go with me on that. Okay, before you destroy that piece. But if that's the case, and what we see, it's got like the airplanes or whatever, different stealth and all these things. We didn't see it for a long time. Once we saw it, it was already old news to that. Okay, to the secret folks that are doing all that kind of stuff. So the technology we see is advanced to us, but it's old news to the people that have been putting it together and creating it. So what about in the crypto world? Is that kind of the same thing too, or is it kind of in real time? Or is there somebody else out there, another group, is there a crypto Illuminati that knows more?
Well, if there's an unknown group, I wouldn't know about it, right?
I don't know. I don't know. A little shapeshifter over there.
But, I think it's so competitive that it's really hard for me to imagine that anybody would be holding back technology. Because they're just going to get overrun if you do that, right? It's trying to get it into use as fast as you can do it. Now, some things are long lead, some things are at the basic research level, and they've got to work their way up through a maturation process, and that can actually have multiple stages to it. You actually are going to find probably military systems are behind commercial systems and space-based systems are behind military systems, because at least used to, NASA had a rule that said, until a particular computer chip or technology or component had at least a 5-year track record, it couldn't be used in a space probe because there's no way to repair it out there, right? It's got to have some history. So that immediately put the space probes at limit to what kind of technology they could use. In the case of military systems, there's lots of extra specs on those things to make them EMP proof, and all kinds of other requirements to expanded temperature range, and things that are so-called mil spec parts that may take longer to produce than something hot off the presses at Apple Computer can be rushed to market just as soon as possible. But even Apple doesn't want to deploy something that they're going to have to recall, and so they have to be a little bit careful. And so the things in the crypto universe are at the point where there's none of those constraints. It's a question of who's going to be the first to get out there and get the glory. So I would say out of all the industries out there, crypto is probably the fastest from idea to market of anything I can think of.
Fast, speed, that's a common thread with what you are always a part of, is speed. And also price too, correct? It's 3 cents or under. Do you, correct? Will it ever go over?
There's that number varies a little bit because the people who are elected to make those decisions have different philosophies about what the price should be. So sometimes the side that wants to keep things cheap is winning, and sometimes the side that wants to increase the profitability is winning. And so I don't know right now where it is, but I do believe it's in the few cents category for most transactions, although there are some that consume more. And there are other philosophies in EOS where a lot of the transactions are free, just restricted on how much you can do per unit time, how much of the resources you can consume. So lots of concepts there about how price is determined. And then you get the government weighing in and saying, wait a minute, if you're charging for doing trades, then you need to have a license. So now people reacting to that saying, okay, I guess I'll find some way to do this where I don't have to charge fees. Maybe I'll have a membership, and you can use so much of my computer for a month on my network, and that's how I'll make my money. Once again, ridiculous rules, throttling the industry, unnecessary rules that are just in there because somebody in the bureaucracy somewhere thought it would be a good idea, or it was a good idea in some past life, and now they expect everybody to comply with that. So anyhow, the more rules they make, the more people innovate around them.
You think very strongly of that, to talk about a past life. I know that's not what you think about often, for sure. So if you're just now joining us, this is Blue Rock Talk with Connie Willis. I'm Connie Willis, but actually tonight I'm Crypto Connie. Yep, it's Crypto Connie Tuesday. It's also International Tequila Day. Thank you for joining us. Sip along with us. I got Silver Patron, and Stan's got
Moonshine.
So
10-year-old Irish whiskey, take your pick.
He forgot it was tequila day, so but moonshine trumps all. So
that's the best I can do.
You can't do any better than that. There's no question about that. If you're new here, please hit that subscribe button. And if you're a continuous Blue Rocker, thank you for being here. And make sure you hit that like button for sure. We'd love for those newbies to stick around. We always have really great information here, live breaking news, as well as other fun topics too, like Bigfoot Friday and talking about aliens and all the other kind of stuff too. And then Stan also does a Bible class on Sundays at 2 p.m. Eastern. So Blue Rock Talk is a network, and all the playlists are all something different. So it's just fun. It all connects in some way, and everybody has an open mind. And Blue Rockers, if you subscribe, you're called a Blue Rocker, and that is someone in the know. And Stan will show you the sign of a Blue Rocker if you come up across one. That's it. That's what you do. Be careful. If you aim it another way, it might mean something else. You better be careful out there. Who knows what message you're sending out there? It's like Bigfooters when they go out into the woods, and some people go whoop 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 and do all this stuff. There's a group of people that think that that's a good thing to do, and then there's another group that says, you don't know what you're saying to them. It might be saying something like, hey, come over here and do whatever to me. Who knows? So you don't know. You don't know. So you had mentioned somebody earlier. Oh, by the way, if you guys have any questions, put them in all caps. That way I can find them, because everything that some of you guys asked earlier is already scrolled up top. So put them in all caps again as you see it rolling through. And if you have a comment too. Murray Krause, who you will see on Sunday, says, "What was the name of Noah's Ark? BitShares?" I love
That's
it.
a little known fact.
Only 2 people knew that. Now we all do. The secret is out. That was the big hint. You talked about somebody earlier. You mentioned his name, and can we just? Is it okay to get an update on him? Do you know anything about Jared Rice? How he's doing? Do you know anything? Just
Well,
he's alive
yeah,
and well.
I'm not privy to the inside discussions,
Right.
but my perception is that the government that kicked in his door couldn't find anything he did wrong. So how does he come out of this whole situation? What's kind of cool. There is nobody in the industry who's been given a cleaner bill of health, right? You have a government certification that he is not a scammer and that he didn't do anything wrong, because although they'll never admit this, it's a major egg on their face, but if they could have found something, anything, a traffic ticket, whatever, they would have put him in jail, right? It's been 6 months now. They found nothing, bupkis, and therefore it now comes down to the question of, all right, whose fault is it? And, the eyes and private investigators are turning to who deceived the government into attacking Jared, who spread all the false rumors all over the internet. And, I don't know what will happen, but certainly this is the thing that class action lawsuits are made out of, right? You've got a whole bunch of people who had their money seized that they'd put into this thing and spent unnecessarily. And if they do get the money back, and there's some doubt that they will, they're not going to get it all back. And it's all over a false, fraudulent set of accusations. Okay, who's going to pay for that? Well, the government is safe because they've made the rules that they can't be charged. But it's still there are a lot of other people surrounding there who were complicit in taking down a promising multi-$100 million, almost $1 billion company. Who's going to pay for that? Well, it looks like it could get swept under the rug. Oh well, nothing to see here. Move along. You just killed a company, damaged a whole lot of investors, ruined a young man's life. What do you mean, nothing to see here? Move along. So, there. You ask for another rant. One of my biggest beefs is people who think that it's cool to get people in trouble with a government who is just eager and looking for someone to make an example out of, and you drug another person into that mess. You think about what would have happened. They kicked in Jared's doors. This is Texas. The thing you would expect, although Jared had no weapons, the thing you would expect of a Texan is that he would have a nice big weapon near his bedstand. And if somebody kicks in his door, the first reaction of a typical red-blooded Texan is to go for his gun. And the first reaction of a SWAT team seeing someone going to his gun is to shoot him first and ask questions later. And there's an innocent man lying dead because these guys decided it was cool to kick in his door because a bunch of kids creating false stories all over the internet trying to get this guy in trouble. It's just so immoral and so outrageous from end to end on this case. It's turning out exactly the opposite of what the people wanted who started this thing, which was to make a name for themselves and become famous and to win jurisdictional authority over our industry. And instead, that's all fallen apart. And now we're asking where does Jared go to get his reputation back? Why isn't the government publishing just as many announcements and posts and articles and interviews about his innocence as they did when they were saying he was a scam artist?
Well, we had got him on Coast to Coast that same night that the guns were at his head, right? Wasn't that the same night? It was Saturday morning, then we had him on Saturday night?
Maybe the next day.
Next day?
After that night, he was made to sit out in the cold outdoors without a coat all day while they ransacked his house, looking for hookers and drugs and whatever else they had been told he was doing.
Just something,
right?
looking for
They
something.
found nothing. The FBI agents walked up to him after that thing and said, "Hey, where's all the hookers and drugs?" He says, "What are you talking about?" But that's what they were told by a variety of people who were trying to do anything they could to advance the story that he was doing a scam. Since then, he's built multiple software libraries full of all kinds of cool stuff that will probably come back and show off his true set of skills. So, Jared will have the last laugh, but it's not funny. I don't want my government doing stuff like that, and I don't want my community doing that to people that we bring to the community as people we're hoping will build on our system. All right? So there are some of those kind of problems, and that's one of the things that got me banned from one of the channels was rebuking some of the people that ran that channel for the complicity they had in bringing about that horrible event.
Mm. I had a little smile in there because you said something about they were looking for women or whatever in there, and I'm just thinking the only woman Jared probably has is a computer with a girl's name because he is like, what I know of him, it is just right. I mean, just constantly creating.
For this past 6 months, all he's done is sit at his parents' house and code. Okay, because too many people trying to frame him, and he wants to stay in an environment where he has witnesses as to what he was doing.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I don't, I'm on Ethernet. Everything else looks good with what we're doing here. We're not having the same, little errors along the way that we might, but there's a lot of buffering going on. I don't know if there's storms in the air, if that makes a difference, but I'm on 1 gigabyte Ethernet. Everything looks good here. I'm seeing a little buffering. So if anybody is trying to take down the words of Stan as he's talking about them along the way here, it's okay. I've got it back up, and you'll see it. You'll see it. You'll see it. All right. So I just want people to know that it will be seen. It will be heard. So
very good.
Yeah.
Yeah. That
absolutely
has been something else that has been happening. People literally doing denial of service attacks, and worse, actually causing major companies that are service providers to shut things off by doing something behind the scenes, whether it's somebody in the government using government powers to actually pull the plug on any server Jared sets up, or whether it's individuals who have advanced hacking techniques. I don't know, but we've seen those things, and all it did was cause Jared to innovate around it. He doesn't have that problem anymore because he invented a solution. And so, the more people try to do dirty tricks, the more guys like Jared are going to find solutions.
I'm just watching this. It's weird. I've never seen that before. I'm just saying. I don't know. You know that industry better than I, where people can do things to stop you. That's crazy. Well, I did want to add, I'm sorry, I'm having some pepperoni and cheese as well with my tequila. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to stay alert. Are those toast authenticated by chance? That's great. Murray Krause had said, oh, wait a minute, where's the lemon and salt? We're going back to the tequila stuff here. But I like remember when earlier Murray said, what was the name of Noah's Ark? And he said, BitShares. And then Pat Con Electric came back and said, Ark Shares. I thought that was cute. That was cute. I wanted you to know that one. I think that's cute. This is all pretty tough, rough stuff, that you're talking about. It's scary. When, I do things on Blue Rock Talk, and some of that includes conspiracy. I don't know a lot about the different conspiracies because it gets very political, very deep, and you really have to research these things. And I kind of researched some of the other things. Not that I'm not interested, but I definitely know that I'm going to talk to an expert that has researched it and let them tell their side. But here, it's sad that it's here too, because that's not what the blockchain and any of this crypto was built for. It wasn't built to have people hating each other, and conspiracies come from this. And it's such the opposite of what this was supposed to be.
Yeah, I agree with that. But that doesn't stop us. Dan continues to work on advanced governance methods with the system, and some really cool stuff uh, where people get to choose the legal system or framework under which they want to interact with other people. So that's good as long as governments don't interfere and impose their rules on top of the rules people prefer for their relationships. But if you couple that with our intra-jurisdictional blockchain work, then it might be possible to say, yeah, I'm going to pick a set of rules and a location where I'm going to interact with other people, where I can do so without interference. And so that holds up great opportunity. And as soon as we get to the point, and this is another difficulty, on one hand, people would love to have anonymity so that they can be free of coercion, but that anonymity is what breeds trolls and people who act in an antisocial manner. And so choosing a blockchain where everybody knows your name, as they used to sing in the Cheers TV show, might not be a bad idea. You got your reputation to protect. It takes you back to the small town where you can leave your doors unlocked because everybody knows your name. And if we could create that type of an environment and people can opt into it, then that could be a wonderful world. As long as you can, as you don't need the anonymity to shield yourself from government overreach, then you can go ahead and manage your reputation, select your jurisdiction, select the kind of people you want to interact with, and it's a beautiful world.
And that's another song that you are
Yes.
open to singing if you'd like, because I know you're
It's
good.
a wonderful world. Actually, that song is called Short People, which is not necessarily a good, it makes fun of people who criticize or make fun of other people.
You can't do anything anymore. I tell you, you can't say anything. You got to watch it. We all used to have a sense of humor. We all used to be able to say anything we wanted. What is behind all that? What is behind watching what you say at all times, being concerned about offending anybody? What happened to the sticks and stones may break my bones? I mean, there are some authentic things, real genuine, things you definitely would be offended by. But some of this other stuff is like, really? And that's not my thought. That's your thought. It's not my thought. You said that. I didn't say that.
Yeah.
What's going on? What's happening?
There's people who occupy the institutions of learning from kindergarten clear up through, advanced education, who are teaching people to think in this mindless way, where they need to have a safe space, and where the biggest offense is to offend somebody, and where you need to limit stating your opinions. But all it did is shift things around to where the opinion that I need to be protected from somebody else's opinion overweighs the right of a person to express that opinion. Right? It's just a mirror image, bizarro world that has been trained into our young generation, who come through schools and are taught what is acceptable and what isn't acceptable. And that is how society engineers things. Sometimes that's good. You go back to my parents' generation, the World War II generation, racial slurs were everywhere. Okay, it was part of the language. People didn't even notice it. It took a whole generation to breed that out of us by making it socially unacceptable. We've almost done the same thing with cigarettes. And so there's some good examples where engineering public opinion to reject certain kinds of behaviors can produce a good result. Unfortunately, that same kind of engineering has now gone into the point where where we have to agree that anything that offends anybody is off limits, and offenses can be the slightest and most ephemeral thing, as opposed to things that a large portion of society might agree are offensive. And, it's a fine line. Where do you draw it? But right now, the pendulum has swung way over into the idea that there's a whole industry about being offended.
Gosh, I need a safe space now, right?
Yeah,
Sorry.
there's nothing safer than sitting here asking questions from Crypto Connie.
It's a dangerous place right now. I'm seeing a lot of buffering. I'm so sorry, everybody that's watching. I really don't understand it. Everything's going fine over here, but I've noticed I don't even want to say some of the thoughts I have about this.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Do you want to wrap it up or answer some questions?
Yeah, the questions aren't able to be coming in except from some stuff earlier, so I can ask some of those things. But it's just a constant buffer. And I'm on Ethernet totally, which is way better than Wi-Fi. And I think that, well, I'm getting you on Skype, so I just don't understand. Everything looks great. Everything.
All right.
That's
well,
weird.
At this point, I wouldn't worry about it. If you've got it recorded, we can post it later.
Yeah,
and, in the meantime, if people are playing games, well, this too will be engineered around.
Yeah, good. Because I'm seeing some weird stuff, so I don't like this. So yeah, let's go ahead and wrap it up. Pat is asking if you're going to be on Bob Safale's show on Thursday.
I haven't looked at my schedule yet or not. I think I do have something scheduled for about Thursday, but I'm not sure. Let's see, Thursday.
Yeah, it is bad. Sorry about that, everybody. Blue Rockers, please, while you're looking, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't have the right computer here that has my schedule on it.
Oh, okay. What computer do you have? Is it one that's terrible? What's going on over there? I'm just kidding. I'm just messing with you. Well,
yeah, this is a fairly modern MacBook.
Yeah.
But I got another big iMac that I spend most of my time on.
Nice. Those are great. Well, I just want to thank everybody. Oh, wait a minute. The good news, so Murray says the good news, governments can no longer afford themselves. Not even the cops are going to accept dollars.
Well, we've got lots of turbulent times ahead, so fasten your seatbelt.
There's another one earlier here, too. I actually think, let's see. Somebody was, Miss Cavs fan was talking about before with the crane, when I was talking about the crane, they had said that that they actually believe, Miss Cavs fan believes that they actually do that on purpose on Wednesdays, on windy days so it won't collapse, which makes sense. So maybe that's, makes sense.
Guess it weathercocks into the wind and minimizes the amount of force on it.
But it's scary.
If it's locked, it's going to have a bigger cross section at certain times, and
right.
Yeah,
it makes sense. Makes sense. Jinx. All right. So Chirac ND, I think maybe Chirag ND says that the buffering is effects of International Tequila Day. Connie's internet is drunk. I like
now
that.
We know the truth.
Now we know what's going on. Now we know. Well, let's go ahead and wrap that up just for these reasons. I'm sorry, everybody, about that. Don't understand it. But so you're watching Blue Rock Talk with Connie Willis. That is Stan Larimer right there. And this is Crypto Connie Tuesday. It's Italian International Tequila Day, and we are toasting that and congratulating Stan with all the new things he has with his dynasty, as well as, he's going to toast me with his moonshine. Let's see your little ball jar. Okay. You got to drink it, though. Doesn't matter. A toast is not official unless you drink. I'll make these toasts with people, and then they go, oh, yeah, I get it. And they put it down. I'm going, well, that doesn't take effect then. It's just, it's a chick thing. So, well, before we go, you want to say anything else?
Nope, I think that's enough for one night. But,
okay.
I think this has been a fun session. So till next time.
Yeah, absolutely. So that is Stan Larimer, everybody. And happy birthday to Dan Larimer, 36.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So, man, that puts you up there too. You don't like telling his age either, do you? Right? It tells your age. Well,
Yep. I'm probably about to enter into the realm of old timer.
well, we're glad to know you. So, everybody, that is Stan Larimer, the godfather of BitShares. We'll be back with him once again, and we want to appreciate everybody that stood in there too. Thank you for being in the live chat. Hit that like button for us, please. And also, subscribe if you haven't and you're here. We appreciate that too. And thanks for supporting in crypto, because it goes right into a tech guy. Yep. So put a lot of crypto support in there, and we're going to get a tech guy. All right. Yeah. All right, everybody, take care. Have a safe and happy rest of the evening. Cheers once again on Tequila Day, and we'll be back again. Stan will be back again for Stan's Bible lecture on Sunday at 2 p.m. But I think I got some surprises for you between then. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.